Welcome to NYNJPA Weather. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino, here to take you through all the wacky weather that impacts the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan areas. So let's see what's going on out there. Welcome to another video of NYNJPA Weather. We have a major winter storm that's going to be impacting the forecast area on Friday, so let's go into it and see how it's going to develop. This is the 250 millibar map on 1 p.m. on Friday, and what we see here in the dark blue here, this is what we call a jet max, and I circled two areas. The first area in red is where convergence and confluence is developing. This area is where high pressure is most likely to begin to develop or be sustained. Meanwhile, to the south, this area is the area of greatest divergence and diffluence. Notice we have a jet max over the southeast. This is with the southern branch, and then the other one supported with the northern branch. When you have this type of coupling, low pressure can rapidly develop and become strong. So when we look at 500 millibars, I want to point out that this storm really is not being driven by 500 millibar disturbances or PVA or short waves. What's really happening here is isotropic lifting. But it's important to notice that there is a weak disturbance over the entering the Ohio Valley by 1 p.m. on Friday, and this disturbance will spawn a second low for Saturday. Meanwhile, we have our northern branch disturbance that is going to be moving through the northeast at the time period when our storm is going to start to rev up, and this will add some additional cold air influence into the storm. Now, as we look at 700 millibars, I just want to point out there's plenty of mid-level forcing at 1 p.m. on Friday to support precipitation. There's also plenty of moisture sitting over the area. So what's driving this storm? Well, when we go back to 12Z on Friday, that's about 7 a.m., I circled in the forecast area. Basically what this represents is the strongest area of frontogenesis and basically isotropic lifting. Now what that means is that warm air is trying to move over the Arctic boundary that we have in place by tomorrow morning. And so when you get that warm air move over, you get clouds and precipitation. In this case, we have a strong low-level jet around 20 to 30 knots, gusting to 40 knots at times, and that is going to enhance the precipitation on Friday morning, and that continues on into Friday afternoon as we have that strong low-level jet. Notice we're starting to get a new 850 millibar low develop along the southern mid-Atlantic, while our original 850 low is still chugging along over the Ohio Valley. And then as we move towards 7 p.m. on Friday, our 850 low begins to develop. This is the time period where warm air gets as far north as it's going to get, basically up to about central New Jersey, and our 850 low begins to develop. Our original 850 millibar disturbance is moving through the Ohio Valley. We have strong frontogenesis over the forecast area, and then by 1 a.m. our new 850 millibar low is developed. We have cold air advection over the forecast area, and our original 850 millibar disturbance will continue to move along and produce light snow on Saturday. This disturbance is going to move along the new established thermal gradient that's going to be sitting over the mid-Atlantic. As we look at the surface, I want to point out how we have strong cold air damming really showing up really nicely in the isotherms. I mean, in the pressure gradient here, and in the isotherms, should I say, on Friday morning. Notice how this builds down the coastal plain while we have precipitation move over the area. This is a perfect signature for snow and ice and isotropic lifting, as that cold air intensifies the thermal gradient vertically and horizontally. As we move towards 1 p.m., that cold air damming is still very much in place. We have new high pressure starting to develop over the Great Lakes as our old one departs and our new coastal storm begins to develop. Notice also that the easterly winds do not last very long, that we start switching off to more of a northeasterly wind on the coastal plain. So the warming does not really last all that long. And then by 7 p.m. our coastal low really starts to wrap up. It starts to develop nicely. This is going to be the same time period where we're going to see really strong ascent at 250 millibars. Notice that our wind flow is going to be from New England moving down the coastal plain, which means cold air advection is going to be enhanced at the surface. Any precipitation that has mixed over to sleet, freezing rain, or plain rain will begin to change back over to snow. And then, as we move on to Saturday, our second disturbance starts to ride along the stationary front that's left behind from the new coastal storm that's moving out. We go from moderate snow to light snow through Saturday, on and off, with a few additional accumulations possible. I want to show you the buff kit sounding for LaGuardia. Notice during this time period that basically the area stays below freezing, with only a short period of at or slightly above freezing around 7 p.m. Friday. And then notice the precipitation on the buff kit sounding, mostly snow with a brief period of sleet and freezing rain mixing in, which quickly changes back over to snow. Philadelphia, because it's further south and closer to that warm air advection, the warm air is stronger, but only gets up to about 1 degree Celsius. We're not looking at a strong push of warm air because we're not looking at a strong organized low pressure system. This is just a case of continuous isotropic lifting and precipitation developing because of that. So we have a longer period of mixing, as you can see with the precipitation. So we start off with light snow through Friday morning, go to a mix through Friday afternoon and evening, heavy at times, snow, sleet, freezing rain, and then as we head towards the morning hours on Saturday, that snow is going to change mostly to snow and sleet and finally all snow, with light snow all the way through Saturday as we get our second disturbance moves through. And as far as the snow map, right now this is the preliminary forecast. I'm expecting 5 to 10 inches in the darker shaded, which is basically the New York City metropolitan area, through northern New Jersey, much of eastern Pennsylvania, basically north of the Philadelphia metro. I'm looking for a mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain from central New Jersey back through Philadelphia. Depending on the amount of mixing, snow amounts could range anywhere from 3 to 6 inches. And then for southern New Jersey, snow to rain, back over to snow. Most of your snowfall is going to be at the very start and at the very end through Saturday, around 1 to 4 inches. Most likely most locations will see around 2. Another thing to watch out for this storm is to find out where that mesobanding sets up. Wherever that mesobanding sets up, which basically what you'll see on the radar is darker shades of heavier precipitation, that is where you're going to see a potential for higher snowfall amounts. So I'll keep an eye on this storm and I'll update when needed. Have a good day.